Now, the blueprint is in two compartments. That's Duncan's theory of life, that's the purpose of creation and the goal of humanity. That's part one. Now, let's understand the key issues. Understanding the concept of life from its entirety, we must seek to understand life from its origin. Realization of life in totality, and before creation, there was nothing. Now, let's understand the concept of life. Where is life coming from? I once asked somebody, what is life? And the person said, it's about living things, how living things behave. But life is more than how living things behave. Life is everything about knowledge. Life is everything about, from beginning of creation to where there's no end. So life itself has no end. So let's see what is life. Now, if you want to understand life, you can never read, understand an author of a book if you read from the last page. The book has 1,000 pages. You read from the last page, but you tell yourself, I've understood the writer. It's never true. Science started studying the universe in about 200 years past. Whilst this world has been in existence, according to science, about 13 billion years from NASA. So how can we understand life if we are just studying life from just the last 200 years, where scientists think that that is where life began, and that is what we can make life out of. So, before creation of the universe, we've been made to understand from scientists that there was nothing. If indeed there was nothing, nothing will continue to be in a state of nothingness. Am I right? Am I right or wrong? If there was nothing, nothing would have continued to be in a state of nothingness. So where comes from the universe? This means that in reality there was something, but something was also preventing something to become something. There was something, but something was preventing something to become something. Well, in reality, if there was nothing, nothing would have continued to be in a state of nothingness. I think this is a logical conclusion. This means there was something, but something was preventing that something was from becoming something. And I say this is the philosophy behind creation. Now, let me talk about the genesis of the creative energy. If there was nothing and something started coming, then it means that something started creating something. So definitely there should be a creative energy behind the entire universe. So what was before creation is what I'm going to talk about, the genesis of the creative energy. So definitely there was a creative energy also being prevented by something. So let us Now this is the creative energy. This is how the creative energy emerged. There was a dense gravity, and the dense gravity was so huge that it was difficult for light to even come out. Those scientists will bear with me that when in the space we call something the black hole, it has gravity that light cannot escape. And this is the gravity that was preventing that light to come out. But the black hole, as compared to this energy I'm talking about, is insignificant. The energy was so huge, and that was preventing anything from coming out. And inside, within the dense gravity, there was something we call a speck of light. And that speck of light, I don't know where it came from, but that is the source of consciousness. And it is only God who can show where that is coming from, where that's the source of consciousness. Now, let's take some takeaways. You realize that the dense gravity in the realm of nothingness was the highest form of energy that dominated to maintain a state of nothingness. The speck of light was a form of consciousness and a source of consciousness. After several uncountable number of years, the speck of light, which is the root of consciousness, absorbed the energy in the dense gravity and overcame it. This is a deeper science, and because of the target audience, I will summarize. I'm trying to make everybody understand what I'm presenting. When I come to specific presentations to academia, to scientists, to religious leaders, I'll give them a deeper part of what I'm doing. But let me give you a general picture of what actually happened. So this is the emergence of the creative energy. Let me ask, if I create a machine, and if I'm the only one who knows everything about the machine, if I'm not there, who can control it? So unless I have a permanent status, I cannot maintain what I've actually done. Anything I bring, I should maintain it. So there was the need to have a creative energy that will have a permanent sort of energy to sustain a permanent sort of universe. So this is how the creative energy emerged. The creative energy, that's the light, grew gradually over some time. Several number of years, and overcame the dense gravity and assumed an immortal status. After assuming immortal status, then this becomes so this is how it emerged. For several number of years, it was overcoming the dense gravity. After overcoming the dense gravity, this dominated as the universal consciousness, the universal energy. The reason why I have to take you to the root of life, somebody will say, oh, we came here for peace. But without this, we will not understand what peace is. I will not understand why the world itself was created. and will not also understand the purpose of creation and the goal of humanity. Now, components of the creative energy. The creative energy connotes everlasting consciousness, everlasting life, and consortium of knowledge. The only rare being that has no end. That is where we had the only rare being that has no end. And that is everlasting consciousness, everlasting life, consortium of knowledge, the only rare being that has no end. That is what I call God. So now, because we are going to relate how God emerged and how we also became in the likeness of God. Then after that, the question is, who created the universe and how and why? The universe is a brainchild of the creative energy. And the creative energy is made up of three unique laws: the perfect law, the divine law, and the neutral law. After the perfect law has conceived the idea, it was implemented through the divine law and implemented and established through the natural law. Then the perfect law resulted in bringing the Big Bang, which became the source of creation, the Big Bang. Now, this is how the universe came to existence. Why should I go to the roots and why and how the universe came to existence? Because I want to trace our root, I want to trace where we're coming from, and I want to trace where we're going. So the universe has been created so let's see how it was done. The universe emerged, the creative energy created what we call nature, and out of nature, nature gave birth to the universe. So nature is the regulating mechanism, the law that governs the entire universe. And God is autonomous. So there are laws, rules and regulations set by the natural law, which we call nature. Now, within the natural law, we have a system called universal systematic intelligence structure. That is how I call it. And this is an independent research that I have conducted for the past 36 years. And I call the universal systematic intelligence structure the USIS. Well, let me ask a question. Now, if you go to the industrial, the big countries where we create vehicles that has companies that have been set, automated to create machines. When they create vehicles or any machine, they keep data on everything that they've created. So there was a need to create a system called the universal systematic intelligence, and that is out of it that everything in the universe was created. Now, example of how the universal systematic intelligence works. I just want to let you know that the world is not just there. It is being controlled by a system, that the universal systematic intelligence structure. Now, if you look at the examples of the planet, just the planets in the entire solar system, look at the rotations. Mercury rotates 58 days to make 1 day. Venus rotates 243 days to make 1 day. The Earth rotates 23 hours, 56 minutes to make 1 day. It means that all of them are being controlled by independent systems. And we call them independent systematic intelligence of each of the planets. And this will tell you how wonderful and how magnificent the knowledge of God is. Now, many don't know how big the universe is. The universe, the observable universe, is about 93 billion light years. And out of these 93 billion light years is where we can find our Earth. This is the diameter of the universe. Now, 1 light year is equivalent to 9.46 trillion kilometers. So if you multiply 93 billion times 9.46 trillion, that will give you the size of the universe. Then let's compare the size of this Earth. The size of the observable universe is 93 points, I've told you already. And the diameter of this Earth is about 12,742 kilometers. And if you look at the size of the Earth, it is like a particle in the entire universe. And that is where we find our size. It is telling you that the power behind creation is so huge, so magnificent that it has its own purpose for creating the entire universe. Now, this is bringing us to the reality. Why then did God create man? Why then did God create man? That is where I want to use the mother hen scenario. The mother hen, let's take the mother hen as God. If the mother hen wants to have an offspring in its image and likeness, what would be the best way to do? It has to do what? Lay an egg. For the egg also to become like itself. Why? Because it came from an egg, so anything in its image and likeness must also have the same process. That is why I'm using the mother hen scenario. So if the hen laid eggs with the expectation that it will become like itself, then the mother hen sees the eggs that it has laid as the most precious thing that it has ever created. Well, that is the only thing that can be in its image and likeness. Now, let us look at how. So, the mother hen will lay the eggs. What it can do is to incubate the eggs to become like herself. How school would the egg go to become like the mother hen? Everything in the eggshell holds the potential to turn the egg into the mother hen. Now let us look at the structure of the egg. Can anybody tell me that looking at this egg, can it become like a fowl? I want an answer. Just look at this thing. Is it like the hen? No. But the one who laid it knew that it is in its image and likeness. So the only way this thing can become like the mother hen has to go through incubation. And when it's going through the incubation, then the egg will begin to know the reality of what is there for. Now, let's go back. The germinal disc, you see the small thing there, we call the germinal disc. It's a tiny particle in the egg. We have the yolk, we have the chalaza, we have the the cuticular abdomen, all of them are just going to help the germinal disc. So at this point, the germinal disc is serving as a soul for the egg. And that is what is going to make it become like the mother hen. So that germinal disc is very, very key. If it is not there, the egg cannot transform to become a hen. Okay. Now, this is where let us all adopt wisdom. And let us ask ourselves, if the egg has to become like the mother hen, what process should it go through to become like the mother hen? You know, the germinal disc, when it comes to stage 1, we realize that the germinal disc is like a soul in the entire egg. It means that it has started the journey of becoming like the mother hen. When you go to the 2, 3, 4, you see that it is changing its form. The germinal disc is now understanding and acquiring knowledge, consciousness, energy about the mother hen in the eggshell. So after 20 days, it was ready to come out as a chick. Then 21 days, it came out in the image and likeness of the mother hen. So now, if we don't try to investigate life, we buy eggs, we just eat eggs. But eggs are fowls. Likewise, when God also decided to create humanity, he has to create them in his image and likeness. So how can God also create somebody or a being in his true image and likeness? God has created a lot of spirits, God has created a lot of angels, but none of the angels or creation he calls an image and likeness of him. Because none of anything in the universe can transform to become as perfect as God is. It is only human beings that have that potential. So we have now let's go to the germinal disc inside the eggshell, which symbolizes the soul. Is the only element is packed with the energies and consciousness of the mother hen. During incubation, the germinal disc starts absorbing the energies and the consciousness in the eggshell. At every stage of the incubation, the germinal disc acquires understanding of the real nature of the mother hen. So when the system started, when there was an incubation, the incubation period started, the germinal disc started absorbing energies and then started understanding how the mother is and became just as the mother is. So if man has also been created in the image and likeness of God, likewise anything God has to create to become like himself should be in the real image and likeness. The Son of God must look like him. He should be full of energy, knowledge, and light, and be immortal just as God is immortal. And this is where the idea of creation started. If God now wants to create a human being, he cannot create anything outside the process through which he became what he is. So that is where the philosophy is. That is where I have to go and start from the emergence of the creative energy, so that we will know the structure of the creative energy, so that we will know the structure of man. Now, there was a need for God to create a mortal realm. Because if the hen wants to lay eggs, it should have a place that it will lay the eggs where it can hatch. But honestly, God is the highest level of consciousness, and everybody must aspire to be like him. So if God is the highest level of consciousness and we want to aspire to become like him, what should be the process? God is knowledge. God is light. God is immortal. So if we should also be in the image and likeness of God, what do you expect man also to be? That's the question I want to ask. And I need answer from the audience. I need an answer. Can anybody tell me, if God is light, you know God, okay. If you want to be like God, then God has to tell you the process through which he became God so that you can also be. And for the Christians, Jesus said, be as perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. It means that there's a possibility for you to be as perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. It is also written that don't you know that ye are gods? It means that every human being is a God, is a lesser God of God's own perfect self. So if anyone wants to be like God, then everyone must be in the image and likeness of God. There's no way an egg can be a fowl unless the egg incubates to exhibit the real qualities of the mother hen. So nobody can be like God unless man transforms to become as perfect as God is. Now, after the creative energy, that's God. And look at how man was also created. So the physical body was created. God put into man the dense gravity, which is always deceiving you that you cannot do it. Then he put into you his creative energy, that's the light, the speck of light that was in God from the beginning. And this darkness in you is what is deceiving you always that you can never be like God. Well, it is preventing what is inside you to come out as God. Now, God has now made you an egg. He has given you the roots of himself, for you also to overcome your mortal self and become as perfect as God is. So there's no way anybody can be like God unless man transforms beyond his mortal self, become as perfect as God is. For the Christians, look, Revelation 21:7. God said, he that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son. So you ask God, what must I overcome for I to become your son? Now, so this is how man has been. So this is the structure of man. We have the shell of mortality, that's the human being. We have the dense gravity, that is the gravity, which is the school of life. Then we have your body, we have the soul, which is the speck of light, and that is you. So in every human being, there's that light, there's that energy of God in everybody. So every man is a potential God. Because the creative energy we saw from the beginning in God, the same creative energy is in you. And this creative energy is not in any being apart from human beings. So if you don't know the value of man, you should start understanding the value of man. And it will lead us to peace. Now, this is the goal of humanity. If mankind is able to bring the light within him out, man has the power to take his body to heaven where God belongs. So for the Christians, You know that there was a time Jesus lifted himself up and left this world without being opposed by anything, because his body has been overcome by the energy within him. It is possible your body can be transformed for you to become as perfect as God is perfect. Now the big question I want to ask, have you ever asked yourself, why were you created? Have you ever asked yourself? Now, is it not a joke? Now, I've come to Accra for about 2 months. I'm coming to do a program. And because of that, before I came, I knew why I was coming. So now, let's say I hire a whole house and waste all my time by going around the city and just visiting places just to enjoy myself. At the end of the expiry of my agreement, tenancy agreement, I'll be informed you are leaving. Now I ask myself, oh, so what have I achieved? But when I was coming here, I knew what I was about, so I spent every time profitably. So if you know why you're on this earth, you spend your time profitably and not chase about vanity. You should make your time very profitable and know the value. Now, the value of man, the real intelligence versus the psychic intelligence. Now, this is God, and God has created you in his image and likeness. Now, God is light, and God has everlasting life. God is immortal. He has no end. He has put into man his creative energy so that man can also attain that level of consciousness forever and ever. Once man has attained that, the physical consciousness, the shell, the human being you see is just a shell. It has an expiry date. It is only what is inside you that doesn't have an expiry date. Your expiry date, you came to this world, you have rented an apartment. Maximum 100 days, 100 years, you are going. That's the end of your tenancy agreement. You are going. Whether you like it or not, you go. So your physical self doesn't have any permanent status, but your soul continues. I was asking somebody, when you die, where are you going? So, I'm going to heaven. I asked him, what part are you going with your physical? No. It is my soul that will go to heaven. I was asking the person, where did your soul come from? It came from God. Why didn't he choose to create you there but brought you here? It means that there's a purpose for which he brought you here. And you must know that purpose and live accordingly. We are actually joking. We have to look for the purpose of creation and the goal of humanity. Why? I'll be the most stupid person if I waste all my time to service my physical self. And at the end of the day, I leave everything with the flesh. And my soul walks out and looks back and asks me, what have you achieved? When I'm entering, I came naked and I'm going naked. So all that I labored for what? There's more to life. There's more to life than what we perceive. If we don't come to that realization, we will continue living the way we are living, and we will continue killing ourselves just because of wealth, power, and fame, which profited nothing. So now let me ask you, there are chance on a robot that has the highest intelligence. An interviewer asks, I don't know whether to call her or him or it. Well, it's behaving like human. And asks, oh, you are the most intelligent being on this earth. He said, oh, yes, I am. But there's one thing I don't have. Soul. Now you have a soul. You are chasing machines, thinking that they are the answers. You have what it takes to transform you to know everything about the universe. The answer is not in your psychic intelligence. Psychic intelligence has a limit, and that is why we are struggling to survive. Whatever we are doing is not permanent, just because we just look at this physical and think that, oh, by tomorrow I'm gone, so I can do whatever I want. But you don't know that there is some life, there's something in you that doesn't die. So when you are planning your life, you should consider that one that has a permanent sort of this, and whatever you do to it, you go and take it. If you realize this, it will serve as a guide, and you begin to behave and know that even when I have power, the power is a responsibility, but not power to abuse. The mortal realm serves as the Earth's gravity, and the soul serves as the spark of light to go through the Earth's gravity to overcome. When the soul expands in the realm of mortality, it absorbs the energy and the knowledge of God. The consciousness of the soul expands. Then, moving from stage to stage, man will finally overcome the dense gravity in him. By then, it has acquired all the knowledge and power and everything about God. We are here to be like God. That is why we are here. The school we go, the school we attend, is to acquire what I call employable skills, because so that I can get a job to do. But that is not knowledge that takes us out of this world. So I'm a professor, and so what? This body will go down, the professor will go down. It is my soul that matters. Now, let's talk about the school of life. Assuming the hen started a school, it started from the first stage, second stage, the third stage. Gradually, it was gaining consciousness about the mother hen. The same way, the academicians here, when you go to school, you have a program. Let's say School of Agric, you have a program. Everything about Agric is in the program. You start level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, what have you. At the end of the level 4, you should acquire everything about the program. Then you become a qualified. Then you get your certificate. Now, if you want to be like God, it's all about life. God is life. So the school that you must attend is the school of life that has no physical bearings. God has created everything, and everything is inside you, just as like the mother hen created the egg. So when Jesus told his disciples, when they say, "Look here, go there, go not after them, for the kingdom of God is what? Inside you." If the kingdom of God is inside you, where am I going to look for it? Why the kingdom of God is inside you is that the light of God is inside you. The creative energy of God is inside you. And this is what is going to transform you to become like God in his image and likeness. He brought you here into the school. Now, I'm a professor. I want my child to become a professor. So I just give my child that title just because I am a professor. It is not so. You were given the professorship because of the knowledge you have acquired. So your child can only become a professor like you when your child has gone through the same knowledge acquisition. Else the child can never be like you. So if you want to be like God, we should not sit down and say that I can be like God because God is light and God is knowledge and God created the entire universe. So if you want to be like God, one day when you become like God, you can also create a universe as God has created the universe. Now this is the school of life where we start from Now, this is where, you see, this is your soul. And this is the physical plane. Level of consciousness of God. Now your soul enters this realm through the door of birth. Then it takes a physical body. Now it has been absorbed into the school. So it is this physical body that is going to use to nurture the soul. So by the door of birth you enter. By the door of death you leave it. It is like you entered the school. At the end of the semester you leave. You leave everything there. You go and come back and continue. When you learn, make good use of your time, you see that the soul is increasing. It is becoming light and it is overcoming the darkness that initially was. Then you are getting closer to God. The consciousness of God is being built in you. Closer you are getting to God, and the time will come, you cannot come again because you have overcome. But the school of life, once you become, I was once asking my friend and brother, Dr. Abnori, are you still a student at TTU? Oh no, I'm a registered. I said yes, because you have completed that school. You cannot go there, but you come there as a teacher. You get it? So this is what we must do. When you are on this earth, you take the human body, and the human body is what has given you the opportunity to become God. Now when we come here, we think that it's because of money we are here. That is why this being part of the peace, the blueprint. We think that we came to this world because of money, so we don't know any other thing. We kill. Spread falsehood. Do whatever we want to do to this body, for this body to be satisfied. But we have forgotten that we sleep every day and wake up. When you wake up, before you come to meet the properties you have, one day you sleep and one day you will not come back. So you see how waste that becomes. We don't even have control over when to sleep and when you to wake up. Just tell yourself, I'm not going to sleep for 1 month. It is impossible. You can't. It is telling you that you don't have control over your own self. Let alone the properties you have acquired. They are not yours. The purpose of your existence must be strictly adhered to. And when we take this into ourselves, it will go a long way to when we are behaving towards other human beings. You know that we are all human beings, all one family. Everybody here was created by the creative energy. So we are all one family. Am I lying? There should be no discrimination. There should be no racism. We are all one people of the same God. And I tell you honestly, the soul in you is the same soul in the white man, the same soul in the blue man, and the same soul in everybody. Everybody was created by God equally, but differently classified in the way of living their lives, making discrimination totally unnecessary. Oh, Professor, okay, fine. Maybe a child like this may have a bigger soul than myself. You see, so we should value souls. So we should not look at the body differences and where we find ourselves. Then it will give us the opportunity to love human beings, to be truthful to human beings, so that you have that peace that we're looking for. So this is the cycle of life. You start the world, You come into the world as a small soul. The more it goes, you increase in size. And the knowledge, that's the soul in you, that's the real self, increases. And eventually you join God and become as perfect as God is. Now, this is the interwoven structure of God and man. Whatever God has created, every human being that God has created, and he has put his spirit in him, his soul, every man is connected to God. So this is the interwoven structure of God and man. And that is why you meditate. You don't speak. You keep quiet and you meditate, and it gets to God, because he is already connected to you. You enter into a room that nobody is there, you speak and God hears, because you are already connected to him. Now, if you are connected to God, and somebody also connected to God, when you are killing somebody, who are you killing? When you are destroying somebody, who are you destroying? And after that, you go and kneel down and pray to that same God. What are you doing?
Minority NDC warns President Akufo